Welcome to the Observe Day podcast, the show where we celebrate the days that matter. From holidays to meaningful observances, we bring you inspiring conversations, stories, and ideas to make each day count. Whether it's raising awareness, learning something new, or simply sparking joy, this is your space to explore the calendar in a whole new way. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to share today's observance with you. Let's dive in. Today, in celebration of National Reading New Book Month, we're joined by a man whose mission is as inspiring as his story. Olaolu Ogunyemi is a proud U.S. Marine officer, award-winning children's book author, leadership mentor, and founder of Parent-Child Connect. His work bridges the gap between parents, educators, and the next generation, equipping them with the tools to lead with purpose. His book, Crow from the Shadow, has touched thousands of families, sparking meaningful conversations about emotion, choices, and self-worth. Whether in the boardroom, the classroom, or the living room, Olaolu blends military precision with heartfelt storytelling to help people lead with service over spotlight. Today we're talking about the power of books to build leaders, raise resilient kids, and change the narrative for the future. Welcome, Olaolu, to the podcast.
Thank you, my brother. I really appreciate the opportunity to come talk to you, and thank you so much. I'm honored.
Yeah, Olaolu, this is National Read a New Book Month. What's the last book you've read that truly impacted you and why?
Absolutely. So the last book I read was called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This is an older book. It actually was written right after the Great Depression. But the reason it impacts me the most is because it is encouraging us to have faith, start off with faith, and how we can take our faith and our belief that we can do more, we can earn more, we can make a living for ourselves and grow into better individuals. Starting with that belief, we could take action based upon that. So that's why I love that book. I think it's a great read, and I recommend it. It's by Napoleon Hill. Again, it was an older book written after the Great Depression in the United States, but I highly recommend people read Think and Grow Rich.
Wow, thank you so much. One of the things that really fascinates me about the title is the intentionality behind the title. The author didn't say think and get rich, he said think and grow rich. And that's a mindset that if a lot of people adopt it, it will really go a long way to help them reach their goals.
Absolutely, you're spot on, because that's the thing. It's
Yeah,
not about getting the riches. It's about growing into the riches, which obviously implies that it's going to take time. Most of us want
yeah,
to read something and then we get there just like that. But in reality, we have to realize that growing takes progress, takes time. And most times when you're
yeah,
growing, one thing I used to hate as a kid, you never know how far you grew overnight because your growing is so marginal. But
yeah,
growing is happening, so we just have to trust and believe it's happening.
yeah. Wow, thank you for that book recommendation. You've worn many hats. You've been a Marine officer, author, mentor. How does reading fit into your daily life and leadership philosophy?
Yes, great question. So, number one, I start my day with reading. I read my devotion first thing. I am a Christian, so I read my Bible first thing. Then I read a book every single day after I do my exercise. Like I said, I've just finished reading Think and Grow Rich. I
Yeah,
read The Power of Lift by Melinda Gates. And so on and so forth. So I usually try to read for at least 30 minutes, even if it has to be an audiobook. I try to read for at least 30 minutes. And the way it helps me as a leader is it helps me understand people because usually when you're reading, the books I try to choose, either it's about history or it's about bettering yourself or being developing others. But all of this comes back to getting to know yourself and the people around you and getting to understand how we fit in the context of this world. And more importantly, understand why we're here on this earth. So as a leader, understanding all those things helps you to develop others and lead them to where they need to be.
yeah. Well, thanks for sharing your routine and how reading fits into the daily life. Your book, it's called Crow from the Shadow, and it has resonated with a lot of families everywhere, a lot of families. And I'd love to know the story behind the story.
Absolutely. So I'll start with the title, Crow from the Shadow. Number one, it's a children's book, but most people don't think of a crow when they want to see a children's book. They want to see a
Yeah,
fun character. They want to see something that's funny and loving. But I chose a crow because the crow is an unlikely hero. Nobody wants to talk about a crow. And in a lot of cases, the crow goes and picks through your trash and things of that nature. But there's one thing that I chose about a crow. The crows are everywhere. They're all over the world. And there's something I wanted people to remember every time they saw a crow. and that is I determine my own future. I can choose which future I'm going to live out. And that's what it's all about. So,
Yeah.
Crow from the Shadow is a story that's telling children and helping people, helping adults teach their children that no matter what the shadow is, and the shadow is anything that comes against you that tries to tell you that you cannot be something that you want to be or tries to hold you back from achieving your purpose. We're trying to help children understand that there's no shadow in your life that could stop you from achieving your goals. And so that book really is to encourage children and really breed the young leader in children so that way they can grow up knowing that they can determine their own future. So next time you see a crow outside, wisdom, make sure you look at it and say, man, I determine my own future.
Yeah. Yeah. You write books for for kids, and this question is particularly made for you because I'm curious for people out there. What role do you think children's literature plays in shaping a child's confidence and emotional intelligence?
That's a great question because it plays a huge role. So right now, a lot of times children don't have the opportunity to sit down and read, or if they do have the opportunity, they don't do it often. Now, a lot of things that you see are children are sitting there with a tablet or a phone or something in their hands that's just not necessarily developing their minds. So when you
Yeah.
read a book, it allows the child to learn. Number one, they're expanding their vocabulary, and which can't be overlooked. They have to learn more words so they can be able to articulate their feelings. And that's where you're talking about emotional intelligence. Not only are they learning how to manage their emotions through the books, as long as the books have a good theme, they're actually learning how to articulate their words. Because one of the key
Yeah.
parts about emotional intelligence is that a lot of us don't understand emotions. We don't know anything but happy, mad, and sad. So we need to expand our vocabulary to understand more emotions. So that way we can communicate and articulate to other people what our emotions truly are. And so that way they can help us to overcome those emotions and grow more emotionally intelligent as time progresses. So that begins with sitting down, reading books. And really, I believe I advocate for adults sitting down with children and reading with them so they can help them through those tough times and those thriving times. But books, it starts with the books. It starts with reading together and establishing that connection so that way you grow together.
Yeah. I really like the idea that it's important so that we can express ourselves and say, yeah, this is how I feel and this is what I'm going through. Because if you don't even know there's a word for it, how do you express it?
Hmm. That's right.
Yeah, as an author, right? I think there are two things you're trying to. How do you make sure your stories don't just entertain, right? But also keep young readers to for real life challenges, right? It's two
Hmm.
things you're trying to do now.
That's right, and that's tough. That's with the reason you pointed out is because it's actually really hard. Because the way I did it is I continue with rhyming stories. Not a lot of stories rhyme anymore, but rhyme and rhythm is important. So for many authors listening out there or creators, remember that children still love the rhyme and rhythm, and it's because we all started in our mother's womb. And think about the heartbeat. The heartbeat starts with rhythm, and so every time the children hear some form of rhythm, they relate to it. So I always encourage some form of rhythm throughout the books, especially children's books. If it's not rhyming, it should still have some kind of rhythm to it to get the child to
Yeah.
be engaged with it. The second thing is it has to have a relatable character. And I say that after I just told you I have a crow. But the way I present the crow is it's dark, he's wearing a hood, but it's bright colors. He's still
Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind the scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
on the cover. If you can see it behind me, it's a little far back. But on the cover, he's flexing. He's graduated. It's shining behind him, and so you have to make it relatable. And in some cases, I like the idea of having a book where it's not telling the child exactly how to get through something, but it leaves it up to their imagination. It tells a good story, and it helps them understand that there's more to out there for to the story, and that's where I believe the adults come in. And what I did in my book specifically is I added questions in the back that are called continue the conversation questions that allows parents to sit down with their children and actually ask more questions. And that way they can grow beyond the book. So they enjoy a good story. They learn some fun facts about crows, or in my other book, they learn about astronomy. And then they get an opportunity to ask questions from their parents and grow that relationship that way.
Oh, oh, I really like that where it's not just reading. We can spend some time to dwell on the story and say, oh, why do you think the crow decide to do this depending on the context of the story? Or why do you think the
Hmm.
tortoise did this, right? Oh, I think the tortoise was scared. Okay, why was the tortoise scared? And it really gets them to ponder on the story and allows the story to sink in. And so when they're probably in similar situation, they can remember those stories and say, yeah, uh, right. Oh,
No,
thank you
you're right.
for that.
And that helps improve their emotional intelligence too. So that's a great
Yeah.
point, because when you're starting to talk more about the story, and sometimes we get as parents, we get so focused on trying to get through the story that we lose sight on the most important thing. If
Yeah.
the child is engaging, they're talking, like you brought up the tortoise. If the child is asking more questions about the tortoise, that's okay. Talk about the tortoise, because you're right. One time they're going to have some situation that comes up, and now you're able to talk to them and explain to them, oh, this is what you meant by that. And this is where the story clicks for them. Because you never know when something may click for a child. And that's what you want. You want them to be in a situation where they're maybe not sharing, or maybe they're trying to learn something and overcome something, and then they can relate to the story that you read with them. That's all you want. And so you're right. It
Yeah.
becomes more of just reading a story to them, and it becomes an experience that you're sharing with them.
Yeah. Wow. And I know you did touch on this question I'm about to ask, but I'd love for you to like just zoom in on this question. And the question is, many parents they want to encourage their kids to read, but they don't want to make it look like another one of the chores or tasks that they've added to the child's list. We're like, oh yeah, no, you have to read, right? What are some practical ways to make reading a natural, enjoyable habit for kids?
Absolutely. So listen, I lived that. My dad always made us read over the summer. Dr. Olutunde, he made us read over while we're in summer out of school and things of that nature. And I know what it feels like to make it seem like a chore. So one of the things I offer is that you should. The first thing I say is try to read with them. So if it's a child, the younger they are, the better. Once you get them into the habit of reading and let them know that reading is fun, that's the first thing. If you can put energy into it and make it seem fun to them at a young age, then that helps as they get older. And then it becomes a habit, and then they continue to read as they continue to grow. So I have a 6-year old, 11-year old, and a 15-year old, and they're all about to get older here within the next couple of months. And all of them love reading, but it's because we start at a young age and we get excited about it. We read to them, and it just became a fun thing. So they never stopped reading growing up. Now, if you started late, that's okay. What I still recommend, though, is finding a book, getting with their, figure out what book they enjoy reading and read it with them. So, for example, if you have a teenager, maybe they don't want to read a rhyming story, of course. Find what they're interested in. Maybe they want to read mystery. Maybe they want to read a novel, or maybe they want to read fiction or nonfiction. It doesn't matter. Figure out what they want to read, and you create a little bit of a book club with them. So you ask questions, you make it more of an interaction, because usually
Yeah.
with teenagers, they want to feel like they're growing, and they want to feel more like you're treating them more mature. So that's okay. Make a book club with them, and have time to talk to them, and read the same book at different times, and say, hey man, let's go drink some tea, and talk about the book that you just read. And I think that will help to reignite their love for reading.
Wow, wow, thanks for that recommendation. Your upcoming book, Lead Last, it focuses on servant leadership, right? And for me, how do books, right, especially non-fiction, whether we've been talking about fiction so far, how do they help develop this mindset?
The mindset for lead last and servant leadership.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. So the way that you reading books teaches you about servant leadership is by studying other leaders who were good at being servants. And that's what I did in my book Lead Last. Is I present not only just stories that I learned, experiences that I learned from people that I know. These are stories from people like Howard Schultz, who is the CEO of Microsoft, and Satya Nadella. Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, and so on and so forth. And
yeah,
these are people who have made a career out of being servant leaders. So when you read about their stories and you start to see in real time because they're current people that we're studying, where they're posting on LinkedIn because they realize that they learn things like empathy at home when they're leading their children, or when the company like Starbucks is struggling and he knows he has to lay off people, but he knows he has to provide other services like all kinds of benefits, health benefits to drivers and things of that nature. These are things that have to happen. And so studying these leaders helps us to learn and develop and understand how they were able to be successful. Because the biggest thing is once you study the company and notice that a company is successful, but then you realize that people are staying with the company because they believe in it, then you have to study the leaders and see what they did. And usually that's what happens. The leaders have provided us some kind of blueprint. We just have to go out and read it.
Yeah. And I think every story in one form or the other, whether fiction, historical fiction, like they have people who, in one capacity or the other, are serving as leaders, right? Whether it's the house, the head of the family, whether it's a mother, whatever the story might be, and whether it's the form of that of animal story, because I believe that all animal stories is the story of humans, right? And it tells that, oh, it shows the qualities of being a leader, and I feel that before you become a leader, right, you have to first um be what's the word? I think a good Bible verse that talks about it is it's a man who can control the spirit is greater than man who, yeah, something like that is in Proverbs. A man who conquers cities, right? So basically, before you lead people, it's good that you have good qualities, right? You kind, you're patient, you have self control, all those things. And good books, they have those stories and those qualities. Especially we're talking about entertaining and also teaching real life skills, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. You're spot on.
Yeah, yeah. We earlier on, I asked you how um parents can help their kids make reading a natural and enjoyable habit. And now I want to ask, you've recommended what we could do. Okay, what they could do because I'm not a parent, but it's not just for parents, right? Encouraging kids to read is not just for parents. I know I've had my own share of encouraging and kids by telling them stories and then getting them books to read, and so that's one way. So it doesn't have to be quote unquote. You don't have to be a parent, right? As long as you're an adult, it's about the next generation. And so if there are kids in your community, right, you can just buy them really good books and just spark that fire in them to read, and that's all, right? You don't need to like get to follow them to teenage, because once the fire is there, they will get on to find books and just start reading and reading and reading, or just because you planted the seed of saying you have to read.
Absolutely. And I love what you're saying there because I'm all about, usually when I list it out, I'll talk about parents, teachers, mentors, and caregivers. And the reason I list all those people out is because it's a community. And that's what you're talking about. The more people and adults that they see um, setting the example by reading books and buying them books and really showing them that literacy is important, the more that becomes their
Yeah,
norm. Once we show children that reading is fun and it's enjoyable and you're learning and you're growing from it, it just becomes a thing that children want to do, and that's because of the community. So I came of a big family. I have 5 siblings. And we have, I think, 24 nieces and nephews. So we have a big family. And one thing that they all know about us is that every last one of us read. We read every single day growing up. And because we read, we started performing better in school. Because we performed better in school, we got scholarships. And because we have scholarships, we all became educated. And it's just the thing that all of my nephews and nieces and my children see
yeah,
as the example. So they don't know anything else. They know that when they look at their uncles and aunties and their mothers and fathers, all of us have achieved this, but it all started with reading. So I love what you said there. It is about the community, and that is something that we could do. Just get them involved, buy them a book, hand a book to them, and just make it fun. Make them know that reading is fun.
yeah. And still on the subject of leadership, right? If a parent, mentor, teacher, etc., the list wanted to build leadership qualities in kids through reading, what kind of books would you, or what kind of books or themes would you recommend um, they look for?
Absolutely. So I believe the first thing I would look for is empathy. I want children to search for books or parents to search for books that teach how to be empathetic towards another person, understanding their situation, understanding how you can be a part of helping them to improve upon their situation. The second thing is confidence. I struggle with self worth growing up, because people were making fun of me and so on and so forth. But I believe that could have been reinforced with a book. That could have been reinforced with spending time learning more about myself. So building confidence and self-worth is also important. Will probably be the second thing. And then the last thing is friendship. Just going out and being a good person on this earth. You see somebody in need, you meet the need. That's really the three things I would say. I would say empathy, confidence or self-worth, and friendship would be the three things I would say go out and look for in books.
Yeah, yeah. I like the part about self-worth and self-confidence because out of it springs forth a lot of things, right? If you're not confident, you don't reach out to your goals. If you're not confident in yourself, you it's hard to really love someone because you yourself you don't even love yourself. So how do you love
Hmm.
someone when you don't understand what love really is, right? And that leads me to the next question, which is you talk a lot about rising above insecurity, right? And for me, the question is how can stories help young readers do that?
Absolutely. Usually, what you do, and for me as an author, I always create characters that children can see themselves in. For example, in my book, Billy Dipper's Time to Shine, he was a shining star. He loved life. He was having fun. He just, his parents loved him and he's doing well. Then he met some opposition. It was a bully. The bully, during his biggest day, which is uh, this star's biggest day, the bully went in and did something to trick him, and long story short, now this star is starting to fall down into this deep, I would call it depression. He's sad. He's embarrassed. He doesn't know why the bully treated him that way. And the reason I did that, and luckily I have a brother, thank God I have a brother who is an illustrator. He drew the pictures very well. So he started off with the character very bright and excited. And then when he got to his lowest moment, he was sad. And in that moment, the reason I did that, and I've done this at schools when I'm reading to children, is I allow them to look at the character. And that's when the children relate to him, because a lot of the children don't necessarily relate to the star when he's up here and he's all confident, but they do relate to the star when he's down
Yeah,
in his lowest moment. But the
yeah,
best thing about the book is that he doesn't stay in his lowest moment. So because they're able to relate, they're able to understand, they get angry, they get sad with the star. Now they're like, okay, now what's next? I'm in the story, I'm engaged. And now they see themselves in the star. Now it's time to pick them up. And that's the beauty of the book. If it's written well, it takes them down and it finds a way for them to be relatable, but then it brings them back up to show them how they can rise above. And in this case, it was just saying that you should never, ever forget your worth. That was a message of my book, Billy Dipper's Time to Shine. Never, ever forget your worth. And so the beauty of it is it allows a child, to answer your question, to identify with the star at his lowest point or the character at his lowest point, and then follow him on his journey towards rediscovery so he can get back to his high point.
yeah. Oh, thank you for that. That's one of the reasons why I love children books. The pictures.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
just it just especially when they just start getting started, right? Usually kids, especially those ones that are not able to read, when they go through the book, they can tell the story even without reading. And it's like,
hmm,
oh, the man is suffering. Oh yeah. This lady came to save him. This and you're like, wow, seriously? So you can tell all this from the pictures. Wow, kids are really imaginative and creative. Wow,
yeah, absolutely.
just as a way to summarize the episode so far, and that is, you said your mission is to equip the next generation of leaders. How do you see reading as part of that legacy?
Absolutely. So they Number one, it allows everybody to write their own story. Because part of preparing the next generation of leaders is documenting things and writing and journaling. So that way people can pick up where you left off and take it to the next level. But what that involves is people picking up what you've written, what you've documented, reading it, studying it, so they can repeat your successes and hopefully build from where you are. So reading, especially when you're reading history, allows you to learn from the people of the past and understand how they solve problems. And a lot of times, I
Yeah,
think sometimes we ignore history because we believe that things change and every problem's different. Which I agree. There's a lot of problems that change and they seem a lot different. But you'll be surprised how many things you can actually solve by looking at history. I know there's many examples in the military. There's many examples in the corporate world. There's many examples in church and school and so on and so forth. But there's always, when you're looking through history, you can find the answers that you need to today's problems. And a lot of times
Yeah.
that's where innovation comes into play. People are solving new problems in old ways. And that's what reading provides. That's how you can help build a legacy that lasts beyond you. And that's how books are able to provide that for you, because it gives you the opportunity to study the things of the past and take those solutions that they have, you tweak them slightly, and then apply them to the future. And that's just the beauty of reading.
Yeah. I think that aptly said is by Isaac Newton, and says, "If I have ever seen further or have gone further, it's because I stand on the shoulders of giants." And
Mhm.
basically, that's what reading is, right? Other than your book, right? Since it's National Reading New Book Month, what book would you recommend for listeners to to pick up this month besides yours?
Absolutely. So, one of my favorite books to read is called Atomic Habits. It's an adult book, of course,
Okay.
but that book is phenomenal. It's a great book that talks about establishing the habits that help you to succeed. A lot of us don't have habits. We don't have a daily ritual that we want to stick to, and it doesn't allow us to really grow. That's the biggest book I recommend. Atomic Habits.
Oh, oh, thanks for that recommendation. And finally,
Absolutely.
where can people find Crow from the Shadow, your free resources, and connect with your work?
Absolutely. So you can find my work at www.parent-child-connect.com. That's parent-child-connect.com. I have all my free resources. I have my YouVersion Bible plans on there. I have free resources on there, my books, links to Amazon, whatever you need. It's on the website. Go on there. There's plenty of free resources. I blog all the time. And you can contact me if you want to look on that website. So reach out. I'm looking forward to connecting with you.
Yeah, well, once again, thank you so much. It's been an absolute delight chatting with you. And I'll be sure to put all the links mentioned in the description and the show notes so listeners can just click and go directly to the sites mentioned. Thank you so much, Olaolu.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.